Do you want your Crown Vic to sound like this? So I've been getting a lot of questions on how I did this. I made the 6.2 run on the stock PCM and Crown Vic. So I'm going to give you a rundown on how I did this swap. A couple things are specific to my setup just because I'm turboed and have flipped headers and stuff, but for the most part this will apply to any Crown Vic that's wanting to do this swap. So for mechanical, I made a list here. For mechanical, first thing you got to do is build mounts. If you can't build mounts, you can't do the swap. Nobody makes mounts. If you can do this, you can MIG weld. So now's your chance to learn. The next thing you'll have to do is lock the IMRCs on the 6.2 intake. You can just run some self-tappers down into them to lock them open. And then if you're wanting to bolt this up to the stock 4-speed, which is what I did, you can do that. It's a modular bell housing pattern. The flex plate is drilled for a 6R80 converter. All you got to do is re-drill the flex plate for the 4.6 converter. And you can use your old 4.6 flex plate as a template for that. Pretty easy. As far as belt drive, you need to use the 6.2 alt. I had to buy a new one because my engine didn't come with one. The 4.6, I reused the power steering off of the 4.6. I just had to relocate it down a bit because of the flipped header. And because of that, just had to get a longer belt because it runs down a bit longer. AC, the 4.6 AC bolts up. And again, if I didn't have that turbo junk in the way, all the AC lines and the dryer and stuff would probably bolt right up and you'd have AC. Upper rad hose is 4.6. Lower rad hose is 4.6. The upper fits, I would say, perfect. The lower, just kind of have to like manipulate it into position, but it does fit. And when there's pressure in the system, it won't kink or anything. The rad fan and shroud and coolant tank is all 4.6 stuff. It fits. The 6.2 oil filter housing fits nicely. You got like maybe a 1/2 inch of stick down from the subframe. If you're hitting that, you got bigger problems in my opinion. You'll have to make a throttle elbow like I did. If you're naturally aspirated and you want to keep the stock air box, you'll probably want to stick it on this side. But because of my boosted setup, I have to have it come out this side. I chose to use a 5.4 throttle because that's what I had upgraded to on my old 4.6. And as I'll mention in the tuning, you'll have to change your tuning for that throttle. It's just, you can just rip the tables off like an F-150. You'll have to delete VVT in the phasers. Livernois sells phaser lockouts for the 6.2s, but they're expensive. They're like $200. What I found is I bought some 5.4 phaser lockouts, which you can get very cheap from China, like $20, and you just kind of grind them to fit and smush them in there. And then your VVT's locked out. I deleted the solenoids just with some silicone plugs. You can leave the solenoids in there, but mine were broken off and all messed up because this was a junkyard motor. I put a timing pointer on this thing. I don't know if you can see that, but I ground a mark into the cover. While I had the engine all apart, I did a piston stop on number 1 and made my own timing pointer on the cover and the balancer, just so you can make sure the timing you're getting in PCM is the timing the engine is getting, because that's very important on a turbo setup. Heater hose is very simple. Just run there. And then fuel line, this is just jank leftovers from my Turbo 4.6. I just kind of made it work with what I had. I didn't have to buy anything there, but basically just FPR and then deadheaded into the rail on the one side there. And that's it for mechanical. For electrical, you have to extend the crank position sensor because it comes like down in the timing cover there on the 4.6, and it's way over in the bell housing over there on this guy. So what I did with this one was I peeled the harness all apart and then peeled that crank sensor back to there. That way I didn't have to cut and modify it, and it stays shielded and it won't lose sync or anything. Cam position wire, again, it's here on the 4.6, it's back of the head on the 6.2. You gotta, again, peel it back, pull it back to there. For the cam, they have 5 teeth. You gotta kind of figure out which one tooth you're gonna use, because the 4.6 has 1 tooth. You can kind of examine the camshaft on the 4.6 and the lobes and the position of that and figure out which tooth you're leaving and cut off the other 4. And then the cam sensor, the 4.6 crank sensor fits exactly perfectly in this head as a cam sensor, and it's a reluctor, not a Hall effect. The coils are just 6.2 coils. You'll just have to change pigtails. They're 2-wire dumb coils, just like the 4.6 is, so the PCM has no problem running those. The throttle harness, because mine's over there, I had to extend it. But I think if you're going NA and you have your throttle here, you probably won't even have to extend it. O2 wires, I had to extend mine just because I have the factory upstream O2s in my hot side there and there, just so the thing runs all happy and closed loop when I'm just cruising. And then just 2 more things for wiring. You'll need to retain the fuel pressure sensor off the 4.6. I made my own little adapter here, but you can buy an adapter, and it needs a boost reference, manifold reference as well. And then also there's a map sensor here. This is built into the EGR housing on the 4.6. You can cut it out so that you can delete that whole housing and just keep the sensor. And when you do that, you just need to run boost to that port there, because that is your map sensor. And that about covers it for electrical and mechanical. So in the tune, all you got to change is your firing order. Change that to the 6.2 firing order. And this table does actually work, unlike some things in HP. And then you also got to change your displacement in the engine general tab. And then for my setup, I also have a 5.4 throttle on it, so you have to change these 2 tables to be the inverse of each other and have the 5.4 data in there. But if you're using the 4.6 throttle, you don't have to change that. You just got to change displacement, firing order, and it should run.